Bye.
So I'm also thankful to the active, energetic audiences for their active participation. Thank you so much for your engagement in this webinar by asking right questions to our speakers. Thank you so much for posing all the questions in the YouTube live chat box. Thank you. So we move forward and we have our next speaker of the day is Professor Chandrima Saha. So Professor Chandrima Saha is President of Indian National Science Academy, INSA, and she's the first President of INSA, ex-direct female President. She's also ex-director and current Professor of Eminence in National Institute of Immunology, a Fellow of World Academy of Sciences. She's a member of the Scientific Advisory Board, Indian Council of Medical Research, 2013 to 2016. She's currently governing council member of IIT Gandhinagar, a member of Scientific Advisory Committee, Life Science Research Board, DRDO. She has received various awards, to name few: Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Medal, INSA Awardee, also Department of Biotechnology Special Award on the occasion of DNA discovery. So I am not listening to her for the first time. I have heard her on various other occasions during our INIAS meetings, and I was really inspired with her talk. So with this, now I request Professor Saha to deliver her talk on leadership roles of women in science. Over to you, Professor Saha.
Thank you, Shalini. Can you hear my voice clearly?
Yes, you are very clear and audible.
Okay. I would like to thank you and INIAS for giving me this opportunity to come to this forum and talking about leadership, which is an interesting topic because leadership, whether it's men or women, many issues are similar, but women are, to my perception, women are great leaders. But I will, come to that. But being a leader, is one of the most difficult tasks, and not everybody can be a leader because it comes with responsibilities, and that responsibility has to be taken up by the person in question, whether it's a man or a woman. But it's interesting how women leadership is perceived. I have some slides. Can I share my screen, Shalini?
Can share your screen.
Okay, I'll just try to share my screen. Okay, how do I?
There is a green button. There is a small arrow. You just click.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. So.
Yes, we can see.
You can see my screen?
Yes, but if you do it in F5 mode, yeah, now it's perfect.
Okay. So, we have a reading. I mean, this we have debated, and it has been debated threadbare, that there is less than 30% of women in the total research workforce of the world. And this really, we have tried to solve it. We have attempted many things. And, we've been successful. It's not that we are not successful, because I remember when I started my career, how few women were there, and now there are much more women in the field. So, what do people say? This is an interesting thing, that what do people actually say? So if you look at the United States, I do not have the data for India, but 89% of the Americans believe that women are critical to science. It is so nice to hear that. And then 74% of Americans agree that there needs to be more female role models in science to encourage young girls and students to pursue STEM careers. And 71% of the Americans agree that more women should have leadership roles in science. Now, unfortunately, I do not have this data for India. We are quite weak in data, so I do not have that. But it is interesting to know that people in another part of the world think that women should come in and be leaders. Now, One of the reasons why we don't have enough leaders are, one of the simple reasons that I thought is that because you see, when you start with a small base, you get, after the journey is going to be a leader, when the woman is going to be a leader in the journey, during the journey there is a lot of filters that happen, and eventually we get very few women leaders. Now, as the base increases, the leaders, number of leaders increase more, and with a very big base, we get uh, good women leaders, a sizable number of women leaders. Now, if you look at, if you don't look at science, and if you look at many things on the whole, on many in the financial sector, in management sector, you look at, there are many women who are doing very well, and Dr. Shaw actually indicated that there are great women who are doing very well. So what we can do is actually encourage more women to come into that, because that is what is affecting us most. So what about the numbers? I just wanted to give some numbers. Is that if, when women enroll, there are enough women who are enrolling in PG and in PhD, but it does not get converted to a career path. Now, women make up only 14% of 2.8 lakh scientists, engineers, and technologists employed in R&D institutions in India, against a global average of 28.4%. Now, in 2017, of the total applications to various branches of IITs was only 10% were women. And you can imagine that 10% will go down after the selections, and so very few women will be there. Now, these are the areas that we really need to improve. Dr. Shaw talked about ISRO having, stellar women like Tessie Thomas, Ritu Karidar. And if you look at ISRO, actually about only 8% of ISRO scientific staff and technical staff actually are women. So women, there are many women in science, but mostly in the lower rungs. So why is that? So that is where we have to strike and try to solve, how can more women become leaders. Now, as many as 81% of women in STEM that was interviewed in one of the studies felt that there was a gender bias in performance evaluation. Now, one of the things that I think here is that there are not enough women in the performance evaluation. That is one of the reasons maybe why women don't get selected that much. So we really need to increase the entry of women in science. Now, this self-correction of number of women and more women entering into science and sustaining with it will take a long time. But we can surely facilitate that through some of our programs and talking to women, and in academies, that what we do, we try to encourage women to come and take part in all our programs, so that they're exposed to a variety of programs that prefer women doing those. So in a all India survey of higher education, you can see here that there are enough people enrolling in MSc. These are, the blue color is men, and this white color is women. And then you see PhD enrollment in PhD in math. They didn't have the bioscience. I'm sure it would have been much larger. But in spite of that, it is not getting converted into career paths. So that is something that has to worry us. Now, in engineering colleges, if you look in India, the factor that is in the US, that is this chilly climate against the women, is not there. And the isolation, the sort of psychological intimidation, the loss of confidence that happens in US schools, it does not happen in India. I wouldn't say it does not happen, but it is very low in India. And there is indicative evidence that the women themselves feel the self-perception is not that strong. So that is where one has to come in and provide them with support to be self-sufficient, and to have more self-confidence in another, spoken in another way. So this also the selection criteria for top engineering colleges, namely with very high discrete cutoff on test scores, leaves the capable female engineers systematically disadvantaged in the admissions process. Now, the evidence and data available suggest like they do not get access to good coaching. The self-esteem is low. So that is one of the reasons. And to open more opportunities for young aspiring females who wish to join technology courses of India, the IITs and other institutes should expand their selection criteria to include parameters besides the test scores. There should be interviews where many women may open up better, may perform better. And larger test selection pool followed by interviews is another way to increase that. So, so that is how we can sort of increase the entry point in engineering colleges and also in science colleges. Now, if you look at this, this is a 5-year-old data that I have. If you look at this, that about 45, almost 46% of all enrolled undergraduate students in India are women. So that is very encouraging. But as you go later on, that they do not sustain it. Now you look at this, that in the engineering, this low blue one is the male, and a female is the top dark blue one. And you see that the males are more in engineering, and female population is more in medicine. It's interesting that they want to go into medicine. In management, it is less. In law, it is less. In IT, it is less. So we would have more women doctors, and that is very good news for us. But we would like to have more women engineers as well. And these are in technical streams. If you see, polytechnics have more men going in for the technical courses, and in nursing, more women. And nursing is something that has been traditionally associated with women. And teacher training also has been associated with women, so women can be teachers. And because of the family life, job of a teacher is very good. So this is one figure also. Now, Dr. Shah was also talking about role models and leaders, that we have plenty. She said that we have plenty of role models. Yes, we do. In these days, we do have plenty of role models. And when I grew up, actually, there were role models like, if you can look at these books, you see there's a book by Jane Goodall, who was a very, very well-known primatologist. She worked with chimpanzees, something men could not do, because chimps and gorillas, like Gorillas in the Mist, written by Diane Fossey, is her work on gorillas. And they related very well with women. And so their families sort of adopted them, and they could just they could study their behaviors and all, and made seminal work on chimpanzee and gorillas by both Jane Goodall and Dan Fossey. Then there were stalwarts like Lisa Meitner, then Rosalind Franklin, Irene Julio Curry, Elizabeth Blackburn. So these are all such interesting books that one should read to know the role models of yesteryears. We have now many role models that that are coming up. They are modern, and they are really upbeat, good to know. But also the role models of yesteryears serve a great deal of inspiration. At least it did for me and for my friends. So so that's one thing that one perhaps should do. Now, why do we need inspirations? Because each one of us want to better ourselves and choose our pathway of life. Now, you want to grow, you want to learn as you grow. So biographies can give important lessons, and so does the stories about their work that I was just showing you. Biographies and autobiographies provide a valuable lesson in life, and also they do not only give you a lesson about the struggles and challenges of the individual who is actually writing the autobiography or saying about their own biographies. It also gives you a contemporary history of that period, which is very interesting to know. because those days, if you are reading about someone who's in the 1800s, who's in the 1900s, you get a picture of those periods. And it is important to know these pictures because then you can relate yourself that how we have progressed. So how much do we know about our women leaders, women science leaders that we had? Dr. Kiran actually mentioned about Janki Ammal. So she is one of the women who was born in 1897, and she was born in Tellicherry, Madras, came from a very, very conservative family. But you can imagine 1897 when girls hardly went to school. And she went to England and started working as a cytogenicist there. And if you go to Battleston Hill in London, you see magnolia growing there. And that magnolia has a touch of Kerala in them because it was planted by Janaki Ammal when she was there in the years of World War I. And she was a very brave woman. And she also went to US to do her studies. And I think she is one of the role models that I knew when I was young. I didn't know many, but I knew her. So she was a great inspiration that she could achieve what she has achieved. She co-authored with Darlington, the chromosome atlas of cultivated plants. And she also remains one of the few Asian women to be conferred a honorary doctorate just remember in those days by the University of Michigan. She came back to India at the request of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru to organize the Botanical Survey of India and served as its Director General. In 1977, she was awarded the Padma Shri. But what is interesting about her that when she died, she was working in the laboratory. So such commitment she had. So these are also, she worked on sugarcane that Dr. Shaw mentioned and made it sweeter. So you see, these are examples that you sort of tend to follow in your life. And she was a leader. Actually, she was a leader because she became the Director General. Even if you're not a Director General, we are all leaders in some way or other. We are leaders in our labs. We are leaders in our, football game, cricket game, wherever we are playing. We are leaders. So to be a good leader, one has to have some qualities, and that can also evolve. That can also evolve as your life progresses. So another person I wanted to mention is Annamani. Annamani was the first women entrepreneur. She joined C.V. Raman's laboratory to do her PhD. She submitted her PhD in 1945, but unfortunately, she was never given a PhD degree she rightly deserved. And that PhD thesis still lies in the libraries of Raman Research Institute, indistinguishable from other theses, not saying that she was never awarded a degree. But she continued to work, and in the industrial suburbs of Bangalore, she headed a small company that manufactured instruments for measuring wind speed and solar energy. She was a good meteorologist, did some fundamental publications on meteorology. So Annamani is one example of very brave women entrepreneur. We are seeing Dr. Kiran Majumdar Shaw. She's such a great entrepreneur. So Annamani was one of the first entrepreneurs. Probably the first. So she's also a great inspiration to many people. But how much do we know about these people? We do not. Very, very little knowledge. So we did. There are many other examples like Anandiben Joshi, Dr. Archana Sharma, Iravati Karve, Kadambini Ganguly was a doctor in West Bengal in her days in the late 1800s and early 1900s. So these are the people that we thought should be brought out in a form of a book, and we did bring out a book. And these kind of books should be made and distributed amongst the public and the students to make them know that how women fared. Now, this is an interesting figure that I got, um, uh, where it shows the women in leadership positions in different countries. Now, if you look at it, Australasia has the maximum, around 43% of female board members. Now, I should say what the study is about. There are societies, scientific societies. So Zoological Society is one such society. And this study was based on taking zoological societies from different countries and studying that how many are actually there in the leadership positions. But I'm sure that if you take other societies, this number is going to get diluted. But in this particular society, what you see is that around 43% in the Australasia, and North America it is 38 to 42%. And then Asia lagged behind and is about 18 to 22%. So there is a women participating in these in the leadership positions actually increases diversity, and that diversity is very important for any mission to succeed. So the more women come in, there are diverse views along with men. And not only women, diversity can happen that you come from a different part of the world, you mix together, and you are you have different viewpoints, you've grown up in a different culture, and so you have a different viewpoint, and so that makes the diversity makes it very robust. The whole idea that forms out of a group discussion in a diverse group is very, very robust and works better. And that is an established fact. So that is why we need more women, people from all around the world. And at the scientific leadership as well as the academic level, we need more women. And that is why I said that we need to facilitate entry of women in science streams. So there are two aspects here. That one, you need to facilitate entry. I say to parents that bring up your daughters like you bring up your sons. So they do not have this stereotype idea that I cannot go in maths and physics, I have to go in biology only. So you bring them up like your son. And then there is another part where once women get into science, give them enough opportunities to sustain it. And usually till about PhD, they sustain, but then the family duties, the biological clock is ticking, and then there is a gap. So we need to bring them back to science, and not only bring them back, give them opportunities, give them work atmosphere that helps them to maintain their family life as well as the working life. Now, one thing I wanted to say is we also need application of science for the welfare of rural women. I was in DBD. I was chairing the biotechnology task force for women, where I saw some remarkable women from the villages who are leaders in themselves. They would grow mushrooms, they would grow their crop, and they have such a practical thought in their mind, because they have to do with very meager substance. So these women are leaders, and given opportunities, they would make wonderful things. So rural women is another issue that we tend to ignore because we are not perhaps comfortable talking to them. Now, I wanted to list some of the reasons that women force, why there is lack of women force in S&T. So there may be lack of confidence, and lack of encouragement from parents, and interactions with their science teachers and mathematics teachers may not be that conducive to their thinking. So, and exposure to appropriate courses, exposure to hands-on laboratory experiences for women, and at later stages when when family duties could be helped by women-friendly policies at work, having a creche, giving them flexible hours. So these are important things for bringing up more women and women leaders as well. Now, I listed some attributes of a successful leader. And lo and behold, you look at that and see a mother in a family has all these attributes, if you look at them, or in general, women. So remaining optimistic in difficult situations. A family will break if the mother is not optimistic in difficult situations. She should have calmness of mind, a leader. I'm saying that these are all common to both men and women, but look at these characters, the women have them much better than men. Calmness of mind, to be able to listen to people, not to be afraid of being wrong, positive approach, persistence, love and passion for work. Who has more love and men might say that this is not true. I mean, we have all this, it's true. But you see, we have these subtle differences in gender where perceptions are different. And I would say that women have all these attributes of leadership and ability to give credit to people, trust people, provide facilities, and the efficiency in managing their time. A woman can multitask like anything, have a flexible mind, celebrate paradoxical concepts, because people can bring all kinds of concepts to you that you should be able to listen, and ability to also articulate a vision for the future. Although we are not a matriarchal society, the mothers decide very much how the education of the children would go. I mean, of course, the father helps, but I'm saying that it is a joint effort between the mother and the father, and mother has quite a bit of say in what the children are going to study. So there is an articulation of a vision for the future. So what can be done? So we have to look at how to raise number of women in science, how to train women in leadership positions. So we should have leadership mentoring for leadership positions, and how to bring girls from minority and socially disadvantaged classes to a career in science, how to design entrepreneurship and education for women, how to provide financial support to women, and can women be trained as leaders? So these are the things that we should be taking care of. Now, attracting young women, the career choices are influenced by society, as I have told before, that I think I'm running out of time. The family, friends, schools, teachers, they all should be supportive of women. And I'm sure teachers play a big role in a woman's career. And teachers should be encouraging the women to take up science. And the education of all involved is required. So what I mean by that is that all the people who, like the family, the friends, the schools, the teachers, they should also be educated to encourage the girl child. And institutions actually need to support equal opportunities between men and women and provide women-friendly work atmosphere. Inputs and insights from various quarters like leaders, social scientists, educators, and psychologists are also required to address these ever-changing circumstances. Look at what happened with COVID-19 coming. It has changed everything. So, so we need people like this to sort of say that how we are going to go about, and there should be mentor programs for these young women. Now, role models, I have already talked about this, so I'm not going to go into this anymore. Can you teach leadership is a big question. And as I said, it is not easy. You have to inspire people around you and live the leadership, in the sense that from your own mind, you should think you're a good leader and you should try to be a good leader. And you'll be inspiring people around you. And you show qualities of leadership like trust and appreciation. You should trust and appreciate your colleagues. Have an open system to have people freely interact, and do not make them afraid of not expressing their opinions, because you should be challenged and they should challenge you. And that is what actually gives a dynamic system leading to a very effective leadership and working colleagues. And you have to focus, of course, on sincere and earnest work. I do not think there is any gender in hard work and sincerity, and so we all can aspire to work hard and learn as we go along. And so there are some thoughts. I thought we should generate a data bank on women scientists and engineers in India. This is something we do not have. As I said, we are quite weak in data, and we should have this data. And then provide training at different levels for taking up science, technology, engineering, and medicine. And at 3 levels, undergraduates, graduates, and postgraduates. We should encourage girl students to take up engineering, science, I've told them before, and provide mentorship to the women students. Yes, I think seminars and meetings to enhance leadership. I have talked about all these beforehand. So I think I will sort of stop here. And this Dr. Kiran already said what India government is doing for women. So I will not go into this. And like it started with our 6th 5-year plan, and then Department of Science, Technology and DBT came in, and 3 science academies have also done a lot of work for women in science. Okay, so this is a very cute picture that I saw of aspiring women scientists. And thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much. There are so many comments in the chat box of YouTube, and people are really admiring the inspirational talk. Professor Chandrima, really thank you for such a wonderful talk. There are a few questions that I would like to take up. We also have today with us Vice Chair of OWSD, Bertha Garcia, and she's also admiring very much of the inspirational talk. She's from Peru. So thank you so much. Another question is from Monica Sharma, and she's asking, do we have training programs for women organized by DST, DBT, INSA or ICMR in different stages of career?
See, it is not specified as women, there are women friendly programs like BioCare, like, DST has some women friendly programs, DBT has the BioCare. So there are women programs like this, but there are no separate
Professor
programs.
Chandrima, sorry to interrupt. Could you stop sharing this?
I am trying to do that. Just a minute. So is it still there?
Yes.
Still there.
I'm pressing the button. It's not, stop share. Okay, stop.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry for this.
I'm still not good at these. So yeah. Yeah, so there are programs, but not actually for undergraduates and postgraduates.
Yeah, there is one more question from the audiences. How about the social safety of the women, especially with the leadership? This is asked by Dr. Sheila Malve.
Social safety, meaning I couldn't understand what social safety exactly means, but I mean, considering the amount of women we have now in leadership positions, and not only in science, you look around you, and there are women everywhere. I'm sure that that women do have a good social security in that sense.
Yes, there is one more question from Shilpa Shotriya, and she asked, ma'am, please give some tips or advice on how to balance a successful career while maintaining family life as well. That's the most common question we have seen in this entire series, and most difficult thing women find is balancing their professional life and personal life.
Yes, you see, if you have great examples in front of you who have balanced their their family life as well as the professional life. One of the things that you should do is to talk to your family so that they are responsive, that you have to be in the laboratory for some time, and you have to be, and you can be at home, you need some aid at home. So these also depend on the kind of atmosphere that you are in. And we can see great examples of women we have had who have had family and did very well. And in fact, the family has helped them to grow. So one has to talk to the family to be conducive to their existence. Shalini, you are muted. You are muted.
Yes. Thank you so much, Professor Saha. There is one more question we have to address. You said that there is we should bring the diversity in the system, so that from the diverse background we should have women. But especially considering the India system, you see that this is missing. So we do not have people from diverse background due to whatever reason. What is your opinion?
Well, that is because I think, like I mentioned about your rural women or women coming from different strata of the society. So in a cosmopolitan, situation like in big cities, which are cosmopolitan areas, you can see women coming from different walks of life. But in smaller cities, you do not really see that, because I don't know, because of the social structure over there. So we need to work on it, because we need to engage people from different strata of society, of different income groups, and because each one of us have views, and can have views that you take examples of people who have come from a background which is not similar to another person who's in there, and this mixing actually gives views from different standpoints, and that is how you can work for society, because society comprises of a mixture of people from different walks of life. So if you don't have representation of them in your system, then you actually cannot do betterment of society.
Thank you so much. There is one more question from Shalaka, and she's asking, why women have to always undergo through a lot of hardship, hard work? You are telling us to do hard work, yes, but why always women have to do a lot of hard work to reach certain positions? And in spite of that also, you see many men at the high positions, and women's, due to their family life, or if especially the young women, if they have children, they are not given the leadership roles, thinking that they will not be able to contribute significantly. So how would you address this?
See, I didn't mean that men do not have to work hard. Men also have to work hard. It is difficult for women because the biological clock ticks, and their responsibilities, there is a stereotype, and their responsibilities are looked at differently. So there we need help with the family, and it's not true that it's always that men have got it easy. It's not like that. I mean, men also have to work hard. And so I didn't mean that work hard means you work yourself off. It's that you have to be very sincere to your work. And of course, I understand that if you have a family, you have a child, you have a family to look after, your mind is, digressed. But you have to find your way from within yourself. And this is very difficult to define or tell you how to do it. You have to find a way from yourself.
Yeah.
So
There is one more question from Monica Sharma. She's asking that what is the ratio of funded projects given to women in India? There is only DBT BioCare, that too for women having gap in their career. Do you think other agencies also should introduce many of such opportunities?
DST has programs for women, but I think Kiran is one program they have. So there are programs, that, but it is not sufficient. So there are only two major funding agencies like DBT and DST, and they have programs. But we can surely do with more. And I can tell you that the women's program in our country is much better than many other countries in the world. So, we are doing better over there, but surely it can be even, I mean, with some imaginative you know, thinking that we can bring about you know, programs for women so that women can take part, like we have talked about bringing in women from different strata of the society, etc. We can do that. I mean, it has to be integrated. You know, our government has to wake up to this.
Wow, what an inspiring answer, and our audiences are complimenting. They are so happy. There are so many comments that this is a very inspiring session. They were looking forward, and they have really got what they wanted. There is one more question from Sheikh Firdaus. What are some of the most important characteristics that a female or a successful female researcher should have?
You see, for any researcher, the researcher has to be very focused. I'm telling you from my experience that I've been a researcher all throughout my life. Now that I've landed up with these programs is different. With this jobs is a different question. But I have been a researcher, out and out scientist all along. So I think for research you need focus. It's one thing, and then you need to think very deep, and you know, challenge yourself with ideas. And you grow up with science, and I think focus is the most important thing. Now you can do a lot of hard work but not get anywhere, you know, that is because you need focus. So
Yeah, thank you. Yes, it's absolutely right that we need to be very focused. There is one more question from Gauri Paloskar. Can you please throw some light on the avenues available for funded research, especially for women in academia?
well, you can compete with all I mean, there is no separate granting system for women. I think it will be beneath our dignity to even do that, because you see, you should be able to compete with everyone, and grants are not given looking at the gender of the person. So I think one can compete in the systems that we have. We have SCRB, we have DST grants, we have DBT grants, we have DRDO grants. So we can, you know, you can go to all these agencies to apply. And I wouldn't like it if there were separate grants for women, because we should be able to compete and do better. That is what actually drives you to become better and better.
Thank you so much, Professor Saha. There is one more question, and we have audiences from different countries, and there is one question even in the not only in India but in other countries also. We have disparity, like gender bias, gender stereotype. So you are here as a president and first women president. How was your journey? How many hurdles or difficulties you faced to reach this leadership role? Please comment.
Well, I have been lucky. I have not faced any discrimination, but I will tell you what happens is it is not exactly discrimination, but people don't take notice of you. They don't sort of recognize that you are there. They don't sort of recognize your work. So that is a very subtle kind of thing that one feels. But I have not really gone through what is called discrimination, and I am fully aware that many women do go through these processes that happen, that they come along their way. But you know, for me, it has not happened. So if you ask me that why, how it was, I'm saying that it has happened, like people are not taking notice of you. You're a woman, so you don't know, you don't know this, how, but I know all better. All this has happened, you know, along the way. But once you reach a certain point, these differences between the genders actually blur. So there you have a position, there you have a say, there you are different. So you have to sort of go through that process and survive that. And you know, I fortunately didn't have that much, but as I'm saying, that not ignoring you is one thing that did happen.
There is one more question. What one can do to make ourselves visible? As you are saying that one should be, you know, visible, and others should notice. So what efforts as a women we should make that we are, you know, seen significantly?
Well, in the field of science, I can say that what you should do is to take part in more meetings, seminars, ask questions, interact with people, assert yourself, try to publish well, and that is the way. I'm talking about purely in an academic way, that how you should go about asserting yourself. You have to be good at these things. You have to publish well. You have to go to meetings, ask questions, meet with people, and give your opinion. And that is how you should grow up.
There is one more question. I think this will be the last question. There are many other questions. It is from Sushma Best. Would you please suggest some funded platform, as I have all the permissions for postdoc from NASA?
Funding platform.
Yes.
Funding platform meaning from here to go abroad. Usually that the parent lab funds you, and that's how you go. I mean, taking funding from India to go there are very few programs. I think there is only one. So I think you should ask for funding from your parent lab, and once they give you, you might find a sponsor for the airfare and all, but your stay and all should be funded by the parent laboratory.
Thank you so much, Professor Saha. We had really wonderful, inspiring session, and I'm sure we have international as well as national audiences. And I would like to tell them that tomorrow we have sessions from the speakers who is also INAS member, who will speak about various national opportunities that women have in India, and also there is one speaker who will give all possible international opportunities, especially for women, they can grab. So please attend tomorrow's session, and I would like to give special thanks to Professor Saha for spending this evening with us by sharing her own insightful journey, and I'm really thankful to all the audiences for their active participation and engagement in this webinar, and asking right questions and making this webinar very energetic and enthusiastic. So thank you so much, Professor Sa, and I'm looking forward